What's the average cost of renter's insurance in Quebec? In 2022, the average cost of renter's insurance, also known as tenant insurance, it's $330. So typically it's going to cover your liability and it's going to cover your contents. A question that a lot of people ask me is my roommate covered under my tenant insurance policy? The answer to that is no, not automatically. If you would like, you can add that person's name onto your policy, and they'll be covered as well. It's typically going to cost like an extra 15 or $30. And a lot of people just end up doing that if you want to split on costs. But automatically, like, is your roommate covered? They are not automatically covered. So that's a question a lot of people ask me. There's the answer. So typically speaking, if you want to get just like your average tenant insurance policy, is going to cover you for liability. It's going to cover you for your contents. So what does it cover for your contents, for example, for your personal belongings? Fire, theft, vandalism, smoke damage, that kind of stuff. So it's going to cover you for all that. And if we break it down per month, I mean, you're looking at like $27.50 a month. It's a super cheap product. Tenant insurance should definitely be part of your budget. We recommend it to everyone. And on top of that too, the big reason why you need to have tenant insurance, yes, if your stuff catches on fire, obviously, but if you go, Curtis, I only have like $5,000 worth of things in my unit. It's not worth anything. I don't care about it. Okay, that's a valid point. But the second part is this: if you start a fire in your landlord's building or in a condo building, if you start a fire in a building that doesn't belong to you, accidentally, okay, so let's say you're cooking something, you start a fire, and the place catches on fire and you cause $50,000, $100,000, $1 million worth of damage. I've seen this before, by the way. The landlord can basically come after you, or the landlord's insurance company can come after you. It's called subrogation. And if you have some money to your name, they're going to win and they're going to get the money off you. This is just a reality. And this is why we always suggest, get the bare minimum and at least get like a tenant liability insurance. And if you're here because your landlord's like, you need insurance to move into my building, you need tenant liability insurance. You can call the places you're going to call or get quotes online. Just say, hey guys, look, I don't own anything. I have like a really crappy bed and, I almost have no clothes because I'm a poor student. That's fine. We'll just give you liability insurance. It's really cheap. So what's a good way to find super cheap tenant insurance in Montreal or in Quebec? As always, as the same with everything else, shop around. Go online, do a bunch of quotes with different insurance companies or different insurance brokers. It doesn't take long at all to fill out tenant insurance. It's literally going to ask you for your address, how much contents you have. Typically speaking, people are going to have between like 15,000 and 30,000. Some people have more, and that's fine. You can insure that as well. But go online, do quotes with a couple of insurance companies. I always suggest finalizing with a human being after that, just to make sure that all the necessary protections are there. If you have water protection, if you have fire protection, theft, all that kind of stuff, just to clarify any questions you may have. So basically, if you're really trying to save money, I'll give you an example. If you're really trying to save money, this is what I do. I don't even cover my stuff. I have about $25,000 worth of contents in my condo. I don't even cover it for theft. The only thing I'm concerned about is basically if my stuff catches on fire. So I'll get the $25,000 check to replace everything. I'm not going to claim for a theft. Or if I cause a liability claim. So if I start a fire and end up getting sued because of the fire that I started and I caused damage to a third party, that's basically all I need insurance for. I pay under $200 a year for my insurance, and I have $1,000 deductible. So if you actually want to get, like, if you're just looking for liability insurance, just say, hey, can I get what Curtis has? It's the Curtis Special. It's really cheap, and it's not cheap just because I own an insurance brokerage. It's cheap because it doesn't really cover anything except for the contents for fire and liability. That's the real reason why. Here's a super popular question, and people type this in all the time. Is tenant insurance mandatory in Quebec, or is tenant insurance mandatory in Canada? So a lot of people are curious. The landlord goes, hey, my landlord put in one of the stipulations in the contract that you have to have tenant insurance. Yes, they are allowed to put in the contract that you require as a tenant to carry tenant insurance. They're allowed to do that. They can do whatever they want. You don't have to agree to it. You can say no if you're entering into an agreement with that person. But typically speaking, most landlords are going to put into the contract that tenant insurance is a requirement if you would like to live in their building. And to be honest, I suggest that you carry it anyways for the cost I mean, it's costing like $25 a month. I think it's worth it. Question we always get asked is, why does the landlord even care if I'm a renter? Why do they care if I carry insurance or not? They don't care about the contents. Now remember, tenant insurance covers you for your contents, in short, contents and your liability. They don't care about the contents. They don't care about your personal belongings. They care about the liability portion. If you cause damage to their building, they're allowed to go after you for the damages that you cause. If you have a tenant liability policy, the chances of them recouping the money for the damages that you cause increase greatly. This is why it's kind of like it's a risk management thing that landlords do, and we insure a lot of landlords as well for commercial insurance. We suggest all of them to not only include it in their lease, but to also just check and make sure that the tenants are actually carrying the renter's liability.